The one thing that I wished I knew when the abuse first started. Well, I guess I'd have to say that eventually all of the abuse of the world would finally come to light and that everyone would finally be on the same page. Yeah, I think I'd say that. I thought that for some reason I had to understand everything about human suffering in order to speak on what happened to me.
But it'll be our little secret, okay?
Because to me, it was always fundamentally important that once I decided to speak on it, it would be an accurate representation of what happened and not something that was one-sided. Because the reality is that abuse and trauma happen to so many people. Mine is just more obvious, and I'm very lucky to have that. For example, my situation alone, I wasn't the only one that experienced abuse.
I don't know how anyone does it. How did you do
So did my family.
school and stuff?
So was the
RN?
abuser. Friends.
RN, yeah. I have another year to go. But what got
Everyone that either knew me or my family or anyone that has ever interacted with me has had, to some degree, a second-hand wave of abuse. But that's everyone, though. Whether they know it or not.
Couldn't you just stay dead?
The thing is that people are so ignorant when they consider or when they have a picture or an idea or an assumption of what trauma actually is, thus cutting themselves off from the lesson that it has to teach. Not everything has to be as intense as mine in order to be considered trauma. That's a common misconception. Friendships can be traumatic. Your relationship with outside can be traumatic. Food, external things, your work, your career, your pets, resistance to try anything new, your coping mechanisms. It is so textbook. The thing is that people don't read the book. Understanding your personal psychology is the key to your happiness. It is very important to me that that kind of information translates over. Things like this don't just happen. In case someone forgot to tell you, the world is not black and white. It is a endless sea of gray, and you need to learn how to be comfortable and live within that. The days of Indians and cowboys, cops and robbers, I mean, to be quite honest, none of that stuff ever really existed. It was just a narrative that was pushed on us.
And false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these stories aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 And they still continue to push that narrative.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
You versus me, us versus them. That doesn't exist. We made it up that way, and it's entirely wrong. Incorrect. Incorrect. I'm never personally scared to talk about a topic, because when I do, you best believe that I feel that I have something to say. I use my best judgment to make sure that it is fair, which is why it has taken me quite some time in order to speak up about this. Though I have been speaking about this for years, this is the first time that I am translating this information over to a social media channel to this capacity. I wanted to make sure that I got it right. It started when I was 3 years old. And at that time, I understood that there was a purpose. I understood that there was a purpose to the abuse. It was my destiny to experience this so that I could eventually speak out about it later in life. I just didn't know when that would happen. I didn't know how that would manifest. I did not know how that would come into my life. But I still made decisions to help prepare me for when that time would finally manifest. When it comes to having influence on the situation, I personally believe that it is best to hear from people who have actually survived it. There's a certain language that trauma and abuse have that some will understand, many won't, but those that do should definitely speak on it. And I feel like I'm one of those people. The thing is that those voices are scarce, and it's not because we don't want to speak up. It's just because we've been shamed into silence for so long. I'd say that the first time I realized that I had a unique perspective on the situation was when I was about 9 or 10. I remember sitting in the hallway with my cousin, telling him what was going on, and I was just kind of taken aback by his reaction. I watched him cry, and through the tears, he managed to spit out, "You're lying. My dad would never do that." And I was put in a very interesting position, morally speaking, because essentially I knew that if I went public, not only would my family hurt, but that my extended family, that they would lose their father. And by that time, mine was already gone for a couple years. And I don't know, call it kid logic, but I decided to keep quiet because I did not want them to go through the same thing that I did. Again, my logic was that they can't handle it. I can. Call it kid logic. But at that moment, I thought I was being very brave. On this channel, we are going to talk about many things, many of which will make you feel very, very uncomfortable. But it is your duty as a human being to listen regardless. Another thing to note is that when you find yourself hesitant to watch a video, it's not the content that you're afraid to listen to. It is the emotions that are going to come up from listening to it. Recognize the difference. Learn to distinguish between the two. Use your discernment. We'll discuss how to process that along the way. Things we'll learn. Learning from the pain. How not to turn to substances or distractions in order to feel better. Recognizing that there is no good, that there is no bad, that there just is. How to not keep things bottled in. How you are not your circumstances. You are not how much you make. Your worth is not tied to external things. You are not your circumstances. How to really take care of yourself. Strip away any illusion. Learn how to be by yourself and actually enjoy your own company. Releasing codependent behaviors, releasing toxic people, relationships, behaviors, and being okay with that. And learn how to receive and accept and maintain healthy relationships. Keep promises to yourself, knowing your worth and actually showing up for yourself. But most importantly, developing an unwavering emotional, cognitive, spiritual strength to overcome overcome any harmful living conditions, whether it's political, economical, natural, social conditions, because without this kind of intelligence, without this level of courage and strength, faith, hope, love, trust, you will not make it. You won't. You will not have the personal qualities needed in order to overcome this. You will not have the personal qualities needed, required, in order to overcome the unavoidable challenges of everyday life. The most important thing to understand about being human is that no two humans are the same when it comes to their experiences. When it comes to the human life, individuals can experience the same situation and still have different interpretations of it. We must understand this and live by it. What determines your experience on this planet is what you decide to carry with you throughout. The key to winning at life is understanding how you react to it. As of right now, your world has expanded, and you have the decision to make of whether you want it to contract back or not. That is your decision, it is your choice, and it is your choice alone. Ask yourself, what are you going to do with this gift that you've been given? Will you try to shrink back? Will you try to shrink back to who you were? Because if that is your decision, if that is the decision that you decide to make, if that is the choice that you decide to make, it's a choice. You always have a choice. You always have a choice in how you decide to live your life. Always. Will you rise up? Will you rise above your circumstances? Will you rise above who you think you are? Will you rise above who others think you are? And see who you could become. Because you deserve to show up for yourself even if others don't think that you deserve it. Don't dim your light because others are too cowardly to handle it. And that, my friends, is the joy of being human.